if the monsters we fear in ancient stories never really left? You've probably heard people say myths are just fiction, fantasies made up by primitive minds to explain the world. But what if that's not the full story? What if these myths were actually warnings, misremembered truths passed down for centuries? And what if I told you some of these creatures might still be out there, hiding in the shadows of our modern world? From the dense jungles of the Amazon to the icy roads of northern Europe, strange sightings and disappearances keep happening, just like the legends described. Coincidence? Or something far more chilling? These aren't your usual fairy tale beasts. These are the forgotten nightmares, the ones whispered about by elders and avoided by those who know better. You're about to discover 10 mythological creatures that might still be hiding among us. And trust me, once you know what they are, you'll never look at lonely forests, empty roads, or even your neighbors the same way again. But before we begin, let me ask you something. If one of these beings were watching you right now, would you even notice? And hey, while you watch, try to guess which creature is still leaving real-world evidence behind. I'll reveal it near the end. Let's see if you catch it before most people do. Tikbalang. Deep in the misty trails of the Philippines, where the trees twist like reaching hands and silence hums louder than sound, there's a legend that refuses to die. They call it the Tikbalang, a half-man, half-horse creature said to haunt remote paths and mountain passes. But here's the strange part. People still claim to see it, not in dreams, not in stories, but in real life, late at night, when no one else is around. Imagine this. You're hiking alone, the forest is still, and suddenly the air changes. A heavy feeling, like you're being watched. Locals say that's how it starts. And once you lock eyes with a Tikbalang, something inside you changes. Some never find their way back. Others return with stories they can't explain, like walking in circles for hours, even days, even with a GPS in hand. Is it illusion or manipulation? For generations, Filipino elders have warned about these creatures, not just as bedtime tales, but as real threats. They say Tikbalangs guard certain places, gateways perhaps, areas where our world and theirs overlap. Try to pass through without permission, and you might lose more than just your way. And isn't it strange that in every culture, there's always something guarding the forest? And here's the twist. The Tikbalang doesn't just fool your eyes. Some accounts speak of voices, loved ones calling from deep in the woods. You follow and find nothing. Others talk about seeing a riderless horse-shaped shadow standing still, staring back. What kind of creature learns to mimic a voice just to lure you in? What else is out there doing the same? The Tikbalang is just one of the 10 mythological creatures that might still be hiding among us, but it taps into something ancient in our brain, our fear of getting lost, of not trusting our own senses. Have you ever walked into a place and felt like you weren't alone, even if logic told you otherwise? That gut instinct might not be wrong. And before you think this is all superstition, consider this. The forests where these creatures are most often seen, many are now restricted zones. Some even had villages nearby that were suddenly abandoned. Why? Disease? Migration? Or something they couldn't explain? The official stories don't always add up. So next time you're on a trail and your phone suddenly loses signal, maybe, just maybe, you're not as alone as you think. Jorōgumo. In the quiet, abandoned corners of rural Japan, there's a whisper that travels with the wind. Beware the woman who smiles too sweetly in a place no one should be. This is the tale of the Jorōgumo, a creature as beautiful as she is deadly. They say she appears as a seductive woman, but in truth she's a monstrous spider, spinning webs of illusion and luring victims into her lair. Now, here's the creepy part. Many abandoned houses, deep in forested regions, are still avoided by locals. Not because of ghosts, but because of her. Strange disappearances, threads of silk found clinging to trees, bones discovered in places no one had reason to enter. And the truly unsettling detail, the disappearances haven't stopped. Even today, every now and then, someone just vanishes near those places. What makes the Jorōgumo different from other mythological beings is her patience. She doesn't chase, she invites. She lets curiosity pull you in, and by the time you realize what's happening, you're already caught. Just like a spider doesn't run after its prey, it waits. And maybe that's why she's lasted so long. She's not fighting to survive. She's feeding on those who come willingly. Have you ever met someone who felt too perfect too smooth, like they were wearing a mask a little too well. That same energy surrounds the Jorōgumo. What if some myths were warnings in disguise? Reminders to trust your instincts when something looks too good to be true. Maybe they weren't just telling us about creatures. Maybe they were teaching us how to spot predators hiding in plain sight. And just like with the Tikbalang, this legend isn't isolated. Around the world, spider-like beings, creatures who use beauty to trap, appear in folklore again and again. Why do so many ancient stories point to the same type of predator? It's almost as if the danger was real and spread across cultures, across time. If you ever find yourself wandering near an old silent house in Japan and the wind suddenly dies down, don't go inside. If you hear a soft voice calling for help, pause. Because the next of the 10 mythological creatures that might still be hiding among us is said to dwell in the water. And what you thought was meant to scare children might have been meant to protect them. Bunyip. Now, let's head south, to the land of scorching deserts and endless wild. But hidden between the red earth and eucalyptus forests, Australia holds a darker secret, the Bunyip. This creature, long whispered about in Aboriginal legends, is said to dwell in billabongs, swamps, and deep water holes. It's part amphibian, part nightmare, and the sounds it makes, not quite animal, not quite human. For centuries, indigenous people avoided certain watering holes, not out of superstition, but fear. The Bunyip was never just a story, it was a danger. They said it screamed at night, a guttural wail that chilled even the bravest warriors. Fast forward to now, people still report strange howls near those same swamps. Even scientists have admitted to unexplained noises picked up by recording equipment. So, what's lurking beneath the surface? Here's where things get unsettling. Some of the earliest European settlers also described bizarre creatures in the water. Big eyes, wet fur, powerful limbs. Some thought it was just seals, until bones were found. Massive bones. Bones that didn't belong to any known animal. They were stored in museums. Then, mysteriously, many disappeared. Misplaced, or removed on purpose. The Bunyip may sound like another tale for the campfire, but when you consider how many lakes and swamps remain unexplored in Australia, it makes you wonder, what if it's not a monster, but a survivor? A relic of a prehistoric world that adapted, hid, waited. Like so many of the 10 mythological creatures that might still be hiding among us, it's the silence that's most dangerous. And let me ask you something. Have you ever been near a lake at night and felt that chill crawl up your spine? That feeling that something just under the water is watching? What if that feeling isn't irrational? What if it's instinct, remembering a time when the Bunyip was real and waiting? What makes this legend even more chilling is that children were often warned never to go near the water alone, not because of drowning, but because the Bunyip might take them. Maybe these weren't just scare tactics. Maybe they were the last thread of a real story, twisted over time, but still echoing today. And just when you think things couldn't get weirder, wait until you hear what happens when a creature isn't just watching from the water, but can walk among us. That's where we're headed next. Encantado. Deep within the lush green veins of the Amazon, where the jungle hums with secrets and the rivers seem to breathe, there's a tale passed down in hushed tones. Beware the man who smiles too perfectly by the riverbank. They call him the Encantado, a pink dolphin that transforms into a human. Charming, elegant, and dangerously mysterious. He doesn't need force to take his victims, just a song, a glance, a dance under the moonlight. Locals speak of parties in river towns where a stranger arrives, dances with a young woman, and then she vanishes by morning. No one remembers inviting him. No one remembers seeing him leave. And the girl? Sometimes she returns, pregnant. Other times, never. What makes the Encantado more than just legend is how recent the sightings are. Fishermen tell stories of dolphins that stare just a bit too long. Swimmers report hearing music underwater, melodies that shouldn't exist. And in some villages, they still say, if the river sings at night, don't answer, because the voice isn't human. It's a call, a trap. Think about it. How many places on Earth still remain unexplored like the Amazon? How many rivers wind through uncharted territory where reality and myth bleed together? The Encantado, like many of the 10 mythological creatures that might still be hiding among us, isn't just hiding in shadows. He is the shadow, wearing a smile. And let's not forget, water shapeshifters appear in dozens of other cultures too. From Kelpies in Scotland to Selkies in Ireland, it seems every part of the world has its own version of a creature that lures from the depths. Why is that? Is it collective imagination or collective memory? So next time you're near water and a song drifts to you from nowhere, maybe it's not your mind playing tricks. Maybe it's something older, something that's been watching for centuries. And what's coming next? It doesn't sing, it stares. And some say it can wear your skin. Skinwalkers. In the vast, haunting stillness of the American Southwest, there are stories the wind refuses to carry too far. Tales spoken only at night, in low voices, with eyes scanning the darkness. Among the Navajo, there's one warning that echoes louder than all others. Don't talk about them too much. They're called skinwalkers, humans who can shift into animals, but only after crossing a terrifying line. Unlike many myths born in fantasy, the Skinwalker legend is grounded in fear, real, ancestral fear. These aren't misunderstood spirits or forgotten gods. They are said to be witches, corrupted medicine men who turned their backs on healing and embraced destruction. And once that boundary is crossed, they gain the ability to transform into wolves, coyotes, birds, or worse. Now think about this. Modern sightings persist. People describe creatures moving like animals, but with something wrong. Limbs too long, eyes too human. There are reports of glowing eyes peering through windows at night, scratching sounds on rooftops, and figures darting across roads at impossible speeds. And strangely enough, cameras often glitch. Dogs refuse to go outside. People get sick. Coincidence? Or warning? Among the 10 mythological creatures that might still be hiding among us, skinwalkers stand out for one disturbing reason. They were once people, which means they could still be living near us, disguised, hidden. And unlike legends sealed in ancient texts, this one evolves, adapts, waits. Some Navajo say they can imitate voices, knock on your door, and even mimic loved ones. So if you hear your name called from the darkness, don't answer. There's also a strange pattern. Regions with high numbers of skinwalker sightings often have other anomalies. UFO reports, missing persons, mutilated cattle. Could it be that skinwalkers are drawn to places already vibrating with unnatural energy? Or are they the source of it? You ever wonder why some roads feel off at night? Why you suddenly get goosebumps when driving alone through the desert? Maybe your instincts are trying to tell you something. Maybe you're not alone out there. And as terrifying as skinwalkers are, the next creature hides its monster behind a mask of beauty. Kishi. Imagine meeting someone with a magnetic smile, someone who says all the right things, moves with charm, and disarms you in seconds. Now imagine that same face, hiding something monstrous right behind it. In Angola and other parts of West Africa, they speak of the Kishi, a creature with two faces, one of a handsome man, and the other a ravenous hyena with jaws that never let go. The Kishi doesn't chase its prey, it seduces, it waits, it lures victims, usually young women, with sweet words and soft laughter. But behind that facade is a second head, often hidden by long robes or magic, that reveals itself only when it's far too late. How do you fight something that smiles at you while planning your death? That's the terror. It's not a monster you run from, it's one you're drawn to. And this isn't some forgotten folktale. Some modern accounts in rural communities still describe encounters with men who vanish without a trace, or strangers who never seem to age, always around when someone disappears. Among the 10 mythological creatures that might still be hiding among us, the Kishi raises a chilling possibility. What if the real predator isn't lurking in the dark, but sitting beside you? There's something deeply psychological about the Kishi. Unlike beasts that rely on strength or supernatural power, the Kishi uses manipulation, turning trust into a weapon. It's a theme that echoes through countless modern fears: catfishing, abusers hiding behind charm, people who lead double lives. Maybe that's why this legend never truly left. Maybe it just changed form. And have you ever felt like someone you just met isn't what they seem? That sense that the smile doesn't reach their eyes? Cultures around the world have stories of shapeshifters and charmers with deadly secrets. Why are we all afraid of the same thing? Being deceived by something that looks human but isn't? The Kishi makes us question our instincts. Who do we trust? And how much of what we see is real? But the next creature doesn't hide in shadows or behind masks. It walks among us in daylight, disguised not with charm, but with complete normalcy. You might have passed one in the street. Aswang. In the quiet villages of the Philippines, children are still told not to stay out after dark, not because of wild animals or strangers, but because of something much worse. They call it the aswang, part witch, part vampire, part shapeshifter, and entirely terrifying. It doesn't live in caves or haunted ruins. No, the aswang lives among us, smiling, blending in, sometimes even raising a family. What makes the aswang especially disturbing isn't just its hunger for flesh, it's the fact that it can look exactly like a normal person by day, a kind neighbor, a sweet grandmother, a gentle midwife. But when the sun sets, it transforms into something predatory, and it feeds on unborn children, on the sick, on the forgotten. Some say it can even split its body in half, leaving its lower half hidden while the upper part flies into the night in search of blood. Among the 10 mythological creatures that might still be hiding among us, the aswang is perhaps the hardest to detect because it's not hiding in the shadows. It's hiding in plain sight, and in some provinces, people still refuse to speak the name aloud. Strange noises on rooftops, sudden illnesses, livestock found gutted in the morning. It's not superstition if the fear still lives in every whispered warning. But here's where it gets even creepier. Some believe that the aswang can pass its curse to others, like an inheritance, a legacy of darkness passed down from generation to generation. So that same friendly woman at the market, she might just be carrying a hunger that's older than the town itself. And the scariest part, they say you only realize it too late, when you're already too weak to scream. And in today's world, where we think we understand science, biology, and folklore, how do we explain stories of people who seem to vanish at night? Or children who describe nightmares of a woman flying outside their window with a long black tongue? Are we just brushing off the warnings of the past too easily? Or is something still lurking just beneath the surface? You ever look at someone and feel like there's something off? No real reason, just instinct. Maybe it's nothing. Or maybe, just maybe, your instincts are trying to warn you. But the next creature doesn't care about blending in. It doesn't hide in the crowd. It guards something. And if you get too close, you'll know exactly what fear really tastes like. Grootslang. Deep beneath the rugged cliffs of Richtersveld, there's a place locals refuse to approach. They call it the Cave of the Wonder Hole, and it's said to stretch endlessly into the earth. But it's not the depth that scares people, it's what guards it. A monstrous beast called the Grootslang, part elephant, part serpent, older than the gods themselves. And if you believe the stories, it's still down there. The Grootslang wasn't meant to exist. According to legend, it was the first creation of the gods, but they made it too powerful. A mistake. So they tried to destroy it, split it, scatter its essence. But one survived, and it slithered into the deepest cracks of the earth, hoarding diamonds, waiting, watching. Some believe it's not a myth at all, but the root of countless disappearances and failed expeditions. And here's where things get unsettling. There are actual caves in that region, off limits, government protected, and filled with stories of strange vibrations, lost explorers, and treasure hunters who never return. Why guard empty caves so closely? What's really down there? Among the 10 mythological creatures that might still be hiding among us, the Grootslang isn't just a beast, it's a gatekeeper. And its cave? Some say it's a doorway to somewhere else. What makes this legend particularly compelling is how it echoes across cultures. A serpentine guardian of wealth, a creature too ancient to name. We see the same motifs in dragons, leviathans, even modern cryptids like the Mongolian deathworm. But the Grootslang isn't in stories, it's in real, mapped places. And if it's all just myth, why do even seasoned researchers avoid those caves? You ever heard of the call of the void? That strange urge to go closer to the edge, to look into the unknown. Some believe the Grootslang plays on that instinct, whispering riches, daring you to come closer. And once you cross a certain point, it's already too late. It doesn't chase you, it waits, buried in shadow and silence. And if something like the Grootslang is real, something born of divine error and ancient vengeance, what else have the gods tried to erase? What else might be hiding in forgotten places, not just watching, but guarding secrets we were never meant to uncover, because the next creature isn't buried in caves. It walks the line between life and death, not just haunting us, but possessing what's left behind. Vatala. Picture this: a corpse, perfectly preserved. No decay, no smell, just still, waiting. In ancient Indian lore, this isn't just eerie, it's a sign. A Vatala might be inside. These aren't your typical ghosts. They're entities that inhabit the dead, puppeteering bodies with uncanny intelligence, often using them to torment the living. And unlike most spirits, the Vatala thinks, it plans, and sometimes it speaks through the corpse. Among the 10 mythological creatures that might still be hiding among us, the Vatala is one of the most insidious. It doesn't crawl or stalk. It lives in silence, hiding behind human eyes that no longer blink. In Sanskrit texts, they were described as questioners, tricksters, beings that test the minds of kings and sages. But in rural India today, there are still whispered warnings about bodies that refuse to rot, and the unnatural things they sometimes do after midnight. Here's a thought. If you saw a person who looked unconscious but somehow too still, too cold, would you trust your instincts? There are reports, documented even in police records, of corpses that moved when no one was looking, of voices coming from the dead, of shadows that don't match the body's posture. Some say it's superstition. Others believe we've simply forgotten how to see what's really there. And unlike Western undead myths, the Vatala isn't cursed. It's curious. Some legends describe it riding along with travelers, hiding in graveyards, or attaching itself to people with unresolved guilt. Its goal? To learn, to mock, to possess. You might think of it as a ghost, but what if it's more like an intelligence, searching for the perfect host? Now, if ancient texts mention these creatures in riddles and philosophical debates, why are there still places in India where cremation rituals are performed with added mantras? Not for tradition, but to make sure the Vatala doesn't return? Are we protecting the soul of the dead, or protecting ourselves from what might come back? And here's the twist. Vatalas aren't inherently evil. Some stories show them offering wisdom or revealing secrets that no human could know. But their methods? Unsettling to say the least, because what happens when something smarter than you is using a corpse to get what it wants? But if the Vatala teaches us to fear what moves inside the body, the next creature is far more primal. It doesn't just signal death, it summons it, and you'll usually only see it once. The Black Shuck. You're driving alone late at night, fog rolling in, headlights flickering. Then something crosses the road. A massive black dog, its eyes glowing like embers. It doesn't growl, it doesn't run, it just watches. If you know what you've seen, you'll realize it instantly. That wasn't just a dog, it was the Black Shuck, and the clock just started ticking. The Black Shuck has haunted the countryside of East Anglia for centuries. It's said to appear before disasters, storms, shipwrecks, even deaths. Some say it's a demon. Others believe it's an ancient spirit of vengeance, a remnant of the old gods of Britain. But the chilling part, there are modern sightings, dashcam footage, phone recordings, and in many cases, the people who saw it didn't live to tell the tale themselves. Out of all the 10 mythological creatures that might still be hiding among us, the Black Shuck stands out because it doesn't lurk in jungles or caves. It walks right into our world. Highways, farmlands, even churchyards. In 1577, it reportedly burst through the doors of a church during a storm, killing 2 people before vanishing. The claw marks? Still there today. And while skeptics say it's just folklore, no one can explain the consistency of these stories over time, or the fear they still inspire. Let me ask you this. Why are so many cultures terrified of spectral dogs? From Latin America's Cadejo to Scotland's Barghest, they all share the same traits: black fur, glowing eyes, and a link to death. Could these be different versions of the same being, a global warning in canine form? And more importantly, why dogs? Locals say the Black Shuck doesn't bark or chase, it chooses. One moment you're safe, the next you've been marked. And what follows could be anything: an accident, a fire, a string of bad luck that spirals into something much worse. And if you try to tell someone, good luck. Most won't believe you, until they see it too. And here's the kicker. Some believe the black shuck isn't a curse, it's a protector. A dark guardian that appears when the veil between worlds is thin. But if that's true, why does it always leave behind fear and death? Maybe protection and destruction are sometimes the same thing. Now that we've reached the end of this list, you might be wondering, were these stories just myths or something more? So, what if none of these were just stories? What if myths were warnings, encoded in legend to survive the erosion of time? These 10 mythological creatures that might still be hiding among us aren't just fantasy. They could be echoes of real threats, hidden intelligences, shapeshifters, entities that never left, only learned to blend in. You've seen how they appear across continents, cultures, and centuries. Creatures with strikingly similar traits, emerging in places that never shared a language, yet feared the same shadows. Coincidence? Or proof of a shared truth we've forgotten? And here's the real question. If some of these beings truly exist, what else have we ignored? What other secrets are buried beneath myths, waiting for someone brave enough to uncover them? If you ever felt that strange presence in a forest, or saw something from the corner of your eye that just didn't feel human, maybe you weren't imagining things after all. Maybe you were close. So take what you've learned today and carry it with you. Don't just dismiss the legends, study them, question them, because sometimes survival belongs to those who remember what others chose to forget. And if you want to understand what else has been hidden from humanity, if you're ready to explore the untold myths, forbidden lore, and terrifying truths left out of history books, subscribe to Ancient Chronicles and turn on notifications. We're just beginning to uncover the secrets that were never meant to be found.